Hey there, and welcome to another Nintendad production. This week we are doing, it was inspired when I was doing my Deadpool talk and I was talking about The Crow, when I was talking about the trailers. I was like, there goes my list. What are some of my favorite, all-time favorite comic book movies? And this was going to be a top 10 list originally, but as they go, I couldn't, like I did with the video game list, I couldn't keep it at 10. But I didn't do like 30 like the video game list. This is a 15 list, so this is just a one episode thing. But it has spawned spin offs as I was thinking about movies. So today is the my top 15 comic book movies of all time, my favorites, which will also lead to spin offs, which will be top 10 MCU movies, top 10 DC movies, not DCEU, just DC movies. There are not 10 DCEU movies I even like, so that won't be there. Top 10 non-MCU Marvel movies, and then top 10 non-DC and Marvel movies. So those will just be any other movies based off comic books, properties that are not DC Marvel, or at the very least not DC and Marvel proper. In that list there will be a Vertigo comic, which Vertigo is owned by DC, but it's not DC Comics, so I'm changing it up a little bit. But here we go. Coming in at number 15 on this list is Captain America: First Avenger. It is a fantastic way to start off Captain America. I think a lot of people were really worried about how they were going to handle like Captain America when it was announced, because he's kind of perceived as cheesy, old-fashioned, things like that. And I think having Joe Johnston of Rocketeer fame and Gremlins fame of all things, doing Captain America: First Avenger was a great choice. I think he really captured that look, and it also made me want, since Disney owns Marvel, and I think they still own the film rights to the Rocketeer. I would have loved for like a Rocketeer Captain America crossover where you could rewrite the Rocketeer being
Superman.
Yeah, Superman. Okay.
I'll get that on my birthday.
Not quite the movie we're talking about there, buddy. But
I'll get that.
I thought it could have been a cool like.
I'll get Superman on my birthday.
Okay, buddy. I thought it could have been a cool like crossover to like reboot the Rocketeer, and him being Howard Stark in a sense. I know the way the rest of the MCU played out after that, like it wouldn't make sense for Howard Stark to be the Rocketeer, though they could have worked in there. He could have been like a secret agent since he helped start S.H.I.E.L.D. I thought that would have been cool. Disney, if you're watching this, that is free. Just give me like a story by credit. You don't even have to pay me. Just story credit. Josh McCain, Nintendo 64. That'd be awesome. So at number 15, Captain America: First Avenger. And now, I should say this before I even get to number 14. This is going to be very Marvel heavy. You're not going to see a lot of... there's quite a few DC in here, but there is a lot of Marvel. I mean, the MCU kind of set the standard, especially the first few phases of the MCU really set the standard for how to make comic book movies. So it's no surprise here that number 14 is another MCU movie, though it's MCU/Sony. And really any one of the three movies could have been picked, but I picked this for a reason, and I'll get to that in a second. But number 14 is Spider-Man: No Way Home. I think it's a great movie. You like Spider-Man: No Way Home too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want that kind of toy. I need it.
You need the Spider-Man: No Way Home toy? It's kind of expensive now.
Yeah, I'll have one in 1 year when I'll...
But no, I picked that movie over, say, the other two movies mostly because of Andrew Garfield. That scene where he dives off the Statue of Liberty to save MJ, and just his acting there, the crying, because we got to complete that Andrew Garfield arc after he couldn't save Gwen, but he saved this Peter's Gwen and MJ and Michelle. It was an awesome like finishing arc for him, because unlike the other Spider-Man, he didn't get to finish his arc. Though I'm hoping that with like kind of like Doomsday and some of the other planned stories coming out, that maybe we get some more Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, because his movies were kind of crap, but I really really liked his acting. He might be my favorite Spider-Man. Tom Holland's great, Tobey Maguire's great, but I just really like Andrew Garfield, and I wish he would have gotten, his own Spider-Man movie that was really good. But yeah, No Way Home, you got the three Spider-Men. You've got Doc Ock, you've got Green Goblin, Sandman, Lizard. Is he Electro? Is Jamie Foxx Electro? I think he's Electro. Yeah, he's not the Shocker. He's Electro. In there, and it's just phenomenal. Like it's so great. And it was pretty good about Marvel and Sony keeping it a secret that the other two Spider-Men were in there. Though we kind of all suspected it, but it didn't stop the theater from hooping and hollering and cheering when Andrew showed up, and then when Tobey showed up. So that was awesome to see them back as Spider-Man. Just a fun movie. Like I said, any of the MCU Spider-Man could have been on this. Spider-Man movies could have been on this list. But that particular one, like I said, with the Andrew Garfield completing his arc, couldn't save Gwen, but saved MJ, was just great. And coming in at number 13, our first non-MCU movie of the countdown, and our first DCU movie, but not the DCEU. Oh no. No, we're going way back. We're going way back to quintessentially the first superhero movie. The movie that maybe had the best tagline ever for a superhero movie. And that tagline was, "This summer, you will believe a man can fly." And of course, I am talking about Superman, the Richard Donner Superman, the Superman starring Christopher Reeve, Superman 1976. To me, that's the quintessential superhero movie. It's kind of what started it all. It kind of is what made it seem like it was possible to make superhero movies. I mean, of all the superheroes to start with a big blockbuster movie being Superman, the one who flies and carries big things, you would have thought like Batman might have been a place to start, or something like that, where a little less special effects heavy. But no, Richard Donner was like, I'm going big or I'm going home, and he went big, and he cast he kind of then unknown, more known for modeling, in Christopher Reeves than he was for acting, but I think he nailed it with that casting of Christopher Reeves. I mean, Christopher Reeves not only looks so heroic and iconic as Superman. In fact, let me turn the camera a little bit. You can see my. Let me get the finger right above my finger. You can see my Mezco Superman right there, and there's Bowie trying to point there too to show you my Mezco Richard Donner Superman 76 Christopher Reeves up there. I love that figure. I remember when that was announced. I think I had that on pre-order for like 2 years before Mezco even delivered it to us. But that's how iconic that role is to me, and Christopher Reeves encapsulated the look of Superman, and then he also had the acting chops to pull off Clark Kent too. Like, he slunched his shoulders, slunched his head, just kind of ducked down and became unassuming. And it's kind of one of those things, like, people always like say like, oh, are people in Metropolis the dumbest people ever for thinking Superman isn't Clark Kent? Well, I mean, for one, how many news reporters for your local newspaper do you actually know what they look like outside of their name in the byline, if you even know their name in the byline? For one. And two, that's the beauty of the whole Clark Kent disguise, because Clark Kent is nerdy and unassuming, and you're just like, who is this guy? And you just don't even notice him. You notice Superman, but you don't notice Clark Kent. To kind of like put a frame of reference in there, I can't remember if it was Superman 2 or 3. Christopher Reeves went out into town in his Clark Kent outfit, in his Clark Kent costume, the glasses, the suit, and everything like that, and just kind of acted like Clark Kent. And no one recognized him. No one even realized it was Christopher Reeves. It's just so unassuming. But when same town, same bar, he'd go out just as Christopher Reeves, not as Superman, but as Christopher Reeves. People noticed him. People were like, oh, that's Christopher Reeves. So it just kind of shows you just kind of how the Clark Kent thing works, and also just kind of how good Christopher Reeves was at pulling off that dual role, which is not as easy as I think people think it is. So yeah, just the iconic superhero movie, and I think the iconic version of Superman. To this day, still my favorite live action Superman. I think Henry Cavill did a great job as Superman, just not in great movies. Same with Brandon Routh. I thought he was pretty good carrying the torch in Superman Returns. Dean Cain was a fun Superman. I mean, it was a cheesy show, but Dean Cain was pretty good. I haven't seen the new Superman live action show, thus I can't comment on that actor. And then we've got the James Gunn Superman movie coming up. The actor looks the part. I can't wait for it. James Gunn, when he does these kind of things, has a lot of heart in his films. So I'm excited for that one. But to me, to this day, the number one, hands down, Superman is Christopher Reeves, and it is Superman 76. So we're rolling right along into number 12. This one is going to be a little recency biased. I won't lie. But really, kind of like Spider-Man No Way Home, any movie from this trilogy could have been on this list. But for the most part, with a few exceptions, I didn't want sequels on this list. I just wanted to pick one movie from a series. There are some exceptions to this rule. But for this one, like I said, recency biased. I just talked about this movie. Deadpool Wolverine.
Wolverine?
Yep, Deadpool Wolverine, buddy. That
Wolverine movie is so awesome.
It's so awesome.
I watched that in my tower life.
He's not seen it. Don't believe him. He has not seen it. I'm not that bad of a dad. But no, the movie, like I said in my review, is just a lot of fun. I laughed a lot. I had a lot of fun. It was great seeing Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman share the screen as Wolverine and Deadpool. The cameos, which I'm not gonna say here because this is just a quick blurb, but I don't want to spoil anything. The cameos were a lot of fun in that movie, and yeah, it's just like the nostalgia feel for that to kind of like finally see those two characters together. Together again, since we did have them in X-Men Origins Wolverine. But it was just a blast to see that movie, and there's a fun little stinger in the credits, and this isn't a spoiler, but it plays Green Day's Time of Your Life, or Good Riddance is the song, not Time of Your Life. Plays Green Day's Good Riddance and just shows clips from like the old X-Men movies and Deadpool movies and stuff like that, and just kind of gets a little tear because when the first X-Men movie came out, I think that was 2000, I was 17 when that movie came out, so I was a teenager, so I was a kid. And now I'm a 41-year-old man with 2 kids, a mortgage, and things like that. So kind of like looking back on your youth and you see like a young Hugh Jackman and things like that. And just like, wow, it just blows your mind kind of thing like that. So that definitely hit the member berries, hit the nostalgia feel. But like I said, it was a lot of fun. Like I just had a blast. And either one, Deadpool 1 or Deadpool 2 could have been in this spot also. But like I said, seeing Hugh Jackman, seeing Ryan Reynolds together as Deadpool and Wolverine fighting together was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And kind of a side note to that, I was watching this podcast that I watch from time to time. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to call anybody out or anything like that. I enjoy the podcast. But there's one guy on it, and he just, anything Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, he just seems to hate. And pretty much everybody else on the podcast, everybody else on the panel, they admitted to like plot holes and faults of the movie, but they're just like, it was fun. We had fun watching the movie. It was a blast. Sorry, I just got an update from something. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Everyone was just saying how much fun and blast it was. Like they could ignore the plot holes. They could ignore a lot of the things in that movie just because they had so much fun. And then this guy, he's the last one to talk, and he just shat all over and just like the second eye, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, do you not have fun in your life? Like, do you not know how to have fun? I was like, yeah, I minored in film when I was in college, and I'm sometimes overly critical on movies, but at the same time, I know what some movies are shooting for, and if a movie is shooting for that and it is successful, no matter how cheesy or plot holy it is, but if it's fun, I'll give it its credit. So, just the mere fact that he shat all over it, I was just like, God, do you just not like fun? And so, that was just my thought with that one. But yeah, number 12, we have Deadpool and Wolverine coming into the MCU. They were Marvel adjacent with Fox, but no, they are now in the MCU. So they're there. Yeah, they were with Fox, but now they're with Marvel and Disney. Yeah. And so, moving right along, we're sticking in the MCU, and we're much like Superman 76 started the whole superhero blockbuster. This is what kicked off the MCU, and of course, I'm talking about 2008's Iron Man, starring Robert Downey Jr. This one, of course, had to make the list. There's no way it couldn't make the list. I mean, it's Iron Man. Just on its own. I don't know if I have to say any more on why it's got number 11. I mean, I think that says it all right there. But no, just I remember as a child of the 80s, I remember when they were talking about this movie getting made, and originally it was like Tom Cruise, and I was just thinking to myself, I was like, the perfect person to play this role is Robert Downey Jr. He's a real life Tony Stark as far as bad habits go and recovering from those bad habits. So I just thought just Robert Downey Jr.'s life experience would bring a lot to that role, and he did not disappoint. I mean, with Deadpool and Wolverine, we learned about anchor beans. We might find out in Doomsday and Secret Wars that maybe Tony Stark was the anchor bean for the MCU. So yeah, for that, definitely number 11. Just a great movie, great start to the MCU. And I can't really say much more about that. So coming in at number 11, we have Iron Man 2008. Haha. Another countdown list, another wardrobe change. Sometimes these things take way longer than I expect them to when I'm filming, and I get tired, I need to go to bed, and I'm not wearing the same stinky clothes I wore yesterday to have continuity. So, suck it, continuity. But no, here we go. We just did number 11, Iron Man, MCU. We're going to go to our first non-DC, non-Marvel property, and that is Dredd 3D. I remember when that came out, I felt 3D was still a gimmick. I was like, this movie's based around 3D. That's probably all it's going to have. Blah, 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 blah. So I avoided it. Didn't even pay attention to reviews to even see if it was any good or not. And then when it came out on Blu-ray, my buddy was like, oh, this movie's great. You got to watch it. So we did. And then I instantly regretted not seeing it in 3D because some of those scenes in 3D, like when Mama falls out of the tower and goes kerplunk in slow motion, that would have been really cool to see in 3D. Unfortunately, I did not. But no, Dredd 3D or just Dredd, I don't know if you call it Dredd 3D or just Dredd, is fantastic. It is one of my favorite non-MCU DC superhero movies. It's just great. I don't know, not much. It's a very gritty, realistic take on Dredd, but still gives the Dredd comic bookiness with like the psychics and everything like that. And just that is what I think everyone wanted the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie to be back in the 90s. But of course, because it was a comic book movie in the 90s, it had to be goofy and desaturated and everything like that. Where finally with like Batman Begins showed you could do like a more serious superhero movie, and then the filmmakers of Dredd just kind of went with that, and it was a blast to watch. Like it's what you want for a Dredd movie, and if you take the comic book aspect out of it, it's a really good action cop movie. So Dredd coming in at number 10 with a bullet there. I've said with a bullet a lot. I need to stop saying that for that. But no, that's a solid number 10. Like when I was making out my list, I was like, oh, Dredd is on this list. And it easily made the top 10 before I expanded this to 15. So just awesome movie. Check it out. If you haven't already, I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. My guess would be Max. That's a guess. I don't know. I not only did I buy it on Blu-ray, but then when it came out on 4K, that's how much I like it. I bought it on 4K. So I've got the 4K disc and everything like that. So I own the digital version. But our next movie coming in, which I'm sure some people think this one would be higher than it is, but this is one of the few that actually is a part of a series that it has a higher ranked version of this. But The Avengers comes in here at number 9. The movie that showed us you could take a whole cinematic universe and combine it to a team and make it work. I mean, I think the beauty about the Avengers were like the main Avengers all got their own movie, so we got to meet them there, and we didn't have to have backstory and everything like that for the Avengers. Like even the villain Loki, we knew Loki from Thor, so we didn't even need a backstory on him. We just kind of get right into it. So I mean, the movie starts with action and it just keeps going and just gives you the action. Josh Whedon, I know he is kind of persona non grata these days, but he did do a great job with this movie. Like the witty banner, I mean, everything in that movie is just fantastic, and it's a great superhero team up movie. Best one since X2, I want to say. Maybe even the first. Well, I mean X3 came before that. So, I mean, it just did a really good job showing you how you could take superheroes from other movies and combine them into one, and a nice blueprint, which DC did not want to follow. They rushed to their team up movie, and it showed. But here, I think Kevin Feige got the right guy to do the team up movie in Whedon. I mean, Serenity, he had shown with Serenity, Buffy, like that his chops for a collaborative effort by superheroes could work. And it just worked out great. Like all the actors seem to have good charisma together. That first scene where you get Cap, Thor, and Iron Man all together was just fantastic. Just, I can't say enough great things about it. And so, yeah. Avengers coming in at number 9. With Avengers coming in at number 9, we have our second film on this list that is, again, part of a series that I have 2 entries in here on. And I know a lot of people are like, why is this one 8 and the other one's higher? When a lot of people consider this one that's number 8 to be the better movie. Well, I guess I better tell you what it is so I can explain myself. So coming in at number 8 is The Dark Knight, the sequel to Batman Begins. And without spoiling what the higher ranked film is, you only have 2 to choose from. You can guess. Not a hard guess to make. I chose this one because this one I feel is more about the Joker than about Batman, where it's a Batman trilogy, Batman series. And the other movie I feel is more about Batman. So, with that being said, I can't help myself. I like the other movie just because I think it's a better Batman movie. This one's equally as good. They could have flip-flopped positions. It's not taking away anything from this movie. Heath Ledger is amazing in it. And he's so good that I feel Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent Two-Face does not get the credit he deserves as well. I think he's fantastic in it. So... I mean, it's not really hard to choose this, but yeah, easily, this is a top 10 list, no doubt about that right there. I don't know what you can say. I mean, also kind of like the Batsuit just kind of looks a little wonky to me with the neck. I don't know. In spite of not being able to move the cowl, like move his neck, like that one piece cowl to me always felt better as a whatchamacallit, as a just the actual cowl to Batman. Like it looks more like the comic books. And sometimes I like a little bit of that comic accuracy, so I always like the Batman Begins Batsuit better than the Dark Knight Batsuit. Just overall because it looked more like a comic book Batman suit. Maybe James Gunn, when we get the new DCU Batman, we'll get a blue and gray Batman. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. It's probably going to be black. But yeah, so number 8, you have The Dark Knight. And then right on its tails, another dark, serious depiction of a superhero film. We have Logan, the what was the swan song for Hugh Jackman playing the character of Wolverine. And I mean, if you've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, you obviously know that Wolverine is back, but it's not the same Wolverine that dies in Logan, so I guess it's different, kind of. But Hugh Jackman kind of put it to rest as far as him coming out of retirement as Logan to play this character for a Deadpool team up. Because it's kind of something he always wanted to do after X-Men Origins Wolverine, and that Deadpool was kind of shit, and we never thought we'd get a comic accurate Deadpool, and then we did, but it was after he announced his retirement. So he was always kind of like, damn it. But yeah, he wanted to do this, and I don't think Deadpool Wolverine dishonors the memory of Logan, which is a great Western. Like, it's what I really think would help superhero fatigue is if we had more movies like Logan, kind of like Doctor Strange, where we take the superheroes and we put them in different genres. And Logan, in and out, is a Western tale, and it's a great Western movie. It's a modern Western. And I think Logan kind of shows you that you can do that. Like the Batman, the Robert Patterson movie is more of a noir movie, and I think going forward with superhero movies, let's not try to be quippy and rascally rabbits like the Robert Downey Jr. Avengers, Iron Man, stuff like that. Let's try to put them in different genres. I think that will save the superhero comic book movie is different genres and things like that. And Logan definitely knocks the Western portion out, and it's a great film. It's one of my favorites. I've watched it many, many times. So yeah, easily a top 10 pick. Now rolling into number 6, we've got a straightforward comedy. I mean, it's a comedy action movie. It's hilarious. It's sad that its follow-up was terrible, but this one really, it's fun. It's funny. It's got good heart in it, so it kind of reminds you of like James Gunn with the Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got quippy, funny, back and forth stuff, but then you've got really heart to the heart matters and things like that. Friendship, team ups, learning, kind of thing like that. And that is Thor Ragnarok. This one is what catapulted Taika Waititi into the stratospheres. If you hadn't seen Where the Wilder People Were, that's another good one. But then he does this one, and that leads to him doing Jojo Rabbit, which is another great film. But this one is really, really good. It's funny. It just shows Chris Hemsworth how well his comedic timing is. And I'm actually shocked he hasn't done more comedies after this. I know he did Ghostbusters 2016, but that was terrible. And then, of course, the aforementioned follow-up to this, Thor: Love and Thunder, which it went too far with the comedy. It just was way too silly. But even in that, I mean, Hemsworth still managed to get a chuckle out of me. So it's just, he has real good comedic timing, and I think he could do kind of like some of the fun action comedies, fish out of water kind of thing, like Arnold Schwarzenegger with like Kindergarten Cop or Twins, something like that, where it's just kind of like you got this big burly buff dude and he's doing comedy. I think it works because he has hella comedic timing, and it really shows in Thor Ragnarok, which kind of goes into the later Avengers movies and everything like that. So yeah, Thor Ragnarok coming in at number 6. And now I guess you could say this is part of the same series as Logan, but it's really not. It is its own separate kind of movies. But number 5, X2, X-Men United, I think is what it was. X-Men X2 United. I could have picked X-Men 1 because it started the whole thing off, and a lot of people like to give Spider-Man the credit to starting the modern superhero thing, but I really think Bryan Singer and X-Men really set the tone for that one. It was a very serious take on what could have been a goofy, campy team-up movie, and it was just a lot of fun to watch. And it was the start of the Dark Phoenix saga. It was God Loves, Man Kills storyline, kind of thing like that. Kind of delved into Wolverine's past. No, it was just a well-made movie, and it much like Thor Ragnarok, it was a damn shame that its follow-up did not deliver on what we were hoping the sequel would be. Of course, we all know Bryan Singer left to do Superman Returns. They brought in was it Matthew? No, not Matthew Vaughn. The guy who did Charlie's Angels. I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. He made terrible movies. Mick G. That's who did it. Mick G. I knew it was stupid letters. They brought in Mick G to do it. I mean, the movie, I guess, was directed fine. Mostly the script and story problems, and Fox wanting... I can't think of the actor's name. James Marsden, who played Cyclops, written out because he was going to go do Superman with Bryan Singer. And it's just kind of funny with all the delays and things like that. with X-Men, maybe with Superman. I can't remember. One was delayed, where it turned out like in the end Bryan Singer actually could have done both, and I really don't understand why one of the studios couldn't work with Bryan so that he could do both. I mean, if he makes one, then makes the other, they're not competing at the box office. And I don't know, just studio politics right there. I mean, it would have been nice to see Singer finish his trilogy. It's a darn shame that he did not, and that we got kind of the very lackluster X-Men Last Stand, which is not as terrible as Thor: Love and Thunder, so it's got that going for it. But X2 was just great. Like I said, we got that tease at the end for the Dark Phoenix saga. Throughout the entire movie, we're kind of getting a Wolverine origin story. I think that scene in the mansion where they're coming to kidnap all the mutants and Wolverine just does the berserker rage and just takes them all out. It's one of my favorite movie scenes where he comes diving off the balcony with claws out and just stabs the dude in the chest. Then you got the scene where Iceman does the wall of ice and you see, I can't remember the character's name, but Brian Cox's character puts his hand up to the wall and Logan's like, I know who this is, but why I don't know who it is, kind of thing like that. But then of course has the greatest movie car ever, the Mazda RX-8 in that Mazda Blue, which actually made me want that car. And I was this close to buying one then. I should have, because I was a college student living at home. I had zero bills. I could have easily afforded the payments, but I was scared to, so I didn't. Dumb me. So now I'm actually looking to buy one on the cheap and just enjoy it for like 6 months to a year and have fun driving around, pretending I'm Wolverine kind of thing. But no, X2, probably the best of the X-Men movies. Maybe Days of Future Past, because that one's really cool, but I think I'm going to stick with X2 because that got you in the heartstrings right there. Moving on to number 4. This one's a cheat. It's 2 movies. I'm considering it one because it's the start of a story, the end of the story, and I don't care. It's my list. I can cheat all I want. But it is Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. Again, it's one story. I just remember going into it, like knowing the Infinity War saga from the comic books and things like that. I was just kind of like, how are they going to do it? I honestly thought the snap was going to happen in the beginning, kind of like it does in the comics, and then you got to battle. But I guess you've got to kind of set everything up so stopping Thanos from getting the remaining Infinity Stones, and then just in the end, him winning. Like, I think anyone not familiar with the Infinity Saga probably didn't see that coming. They probably thought, they're going to win or something like that, or delay it, and it's just going to continue to the next movie and they're going to win. But no, they lose. And I was a little taken aback by that. I was like, oh, shit. And, of course, we got all those snapped-out memes for sports. When a team would lose, we'd see their star player turning to dust. But, yeah, just kind of the journey our heroes take, like Peter Quill just going nuts after Gamora has died, and then they could have stopped Thanos, but he just did not go with the plan because he was too pissed. And then you have Thor on the search, it starts out with Thanos just massacring his Asgardian people and killing Loki, and so then he goes on a fit of revenge, and just like when he gets his new axe and he gets down to Wakanda, where's Thanos, kind of thing like that. It's a great start for him. Like, just Thor, I think Thor's journey, him and Tony Stark might have the best journey of any of the Avengers in all the way through the Infinity Saga. Thor goes from this brash, cocky heir to the throne to this person who doesn't even want the throne. He just wants to do best, not just for his people, for everybody. Tony Stark goes from a womanizing, boozing billionaire to a philanthropist to a family man to someone who's going to sacrifice himself for the whole world, which he does in the sequel Endgame. It's just amazing cinema. The Russo brothers did a great job. I'm glad they're back to do the next 2 Avengers movies, and even though RDJ is back playing Doctor Doom, whether he's a Tony Stark variant, whether he's Doom proper, I'm going to trust them. They made 2 great movies before. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt for Doomsday and then Secret War. All based on how good these 2 movies are. And if you haven't watched them recently, definitely pop them in. They're great. If you know the movies, no prerequisites for this. You just watch some good movies, some good superhero ass kicking. So yeah, that's all I got to say on that. Number 3, I don't know where I put my 4K Blu-ray, but I did get this bad boy out. The Crow. If you watch my Super Guy unboxing, you'll know, and you can see behind me. Oh, wait, let's see behind me on my Crow shelf. You can see the Laserdisc. I got the Laserdisc of the Crow, but unfortunately, I did find out. I looked it up. I did find out, and it was pointed out to me in the comments. There's a UMD of the Crow, so I do not have all the physical media of the Crow. I need to find the UMD disc somewhere. That's not too expensive, hopefully, and go from there. And then I truly will have all the physical media of the Crow: the VHS, the DVD, the Blu-ray, 4K, and the Laserdisc. Oh, turn my thumb that way. There we go, and the Laserdisc. But no, the Crow. Speaking of superhero movies being in the genre, this is like a 70s, 80s revenge flick. You killed my family, I'm gonna fucking kill you too, and extra people behind the whole thing. You got a shady corporation wanting to do something. They hire a bunch of thugs to kill people. I mean, typical 80s revenge flick setup. Except this time the hero dies, and the hero has to be brought back by the titular Crow. And it's just a great movie. Of course, it has its tragic backstory with Brandon Lee's untimely death on the set, which sadly, it was everything I've heard, it's reshoots. Like, the movie was in the can, but they just wanted to reshoot that final shootout scene in the office and stuff like that with the big long table, and just one of the bullets was live, and there's not too much mystery to it. Basically, with those rounds, what I've watched a couple things on it, because if you have like a revolver, and like a blank will not have a slug in it, but if you've got like a revolver to show close-ups and things like that, you want a slug in there. So what they figure someone did was they probably got distracted while they were making the blanks, and a live round, they just didn't take out the powder of the live round to go in there, and boom. And it's so unfortunate. It's so sad, because it was kind of like he'd been in a lot of like B action movies kind of thing, trying to find his way, trying to step out of his dad's shadow kind of thing. And this movie did it. Like, this movie, he got out of his dad's shadow. It's kind of one of those funny things. I think of Brandon Lee before I think of Bruce Lee, mostly because of this movie. But yeah, it's kind of sad to say what could have been for Brandon Lee's career after this movie, because I think this would have, I don't know if it would have taken him to like superstar heights, but I think he would have gotten some better roles, some roles that would really let him act and do that. But unfortunately, his tragic end came there, and we'll never know. But at least he did do this, and we have it to cherish and remember him by, and all the material we made. Hopefully his family is getting a cut like that. Mezco, there's the thumbs up. That Mezco behind me, that is so like lifelike and realistic looking in the Hot Toys, which I always want, but that's like $300-$400. That's a lot for one figure. Looks so much like him. Hopefully they get a cut, or his estate gets a cut, whoever's in charge of that. But yeah, The Crow, just a fantastic revenge movie. Ernie Hudson's also great in that. He doesn't get the credit he deserves in that one. Like, Ernie Hudson, Ghostbuster, and Cop in The Crow. But no, I really enjoy Ernie Hudson's performance in that too, because as a kid, I really liked Ernie Hudson. Like, not just like Winston in the Ghostbusters, but I really liked Ernie Hudson. I thought he was just charming. I don't know. There was something, a je ne sais quoi about him that I really enjoyed him in Ghostbusters. And I always, like, because he wasn't a big star like, say, Bill Murray, if I saw Ernie Hudson pop up in something, I'd get excited. Like, it's Winston, before I knew what his actual name was, because, you know, when you're a kid, you mostly know actors by their most famous role. Like, I called Mark Hamill Luke Skywalker. Harrison Ford, depending on the day, would be Indiana Jones or Han Solo. But he does a great job in that. Like, one of my favorite exchanges, like, don't move. It's like, I thought officers said freeze. Well, I'm a cop and I say don't move. I don't know, just exchanges like that. And then when they're back in Ernie Hudson's apartment talking, and he gives him a smoke, it's like, you know, these things will kill you. Just that back and forth. I thought they had good charisma too on the film. So great performances by Brandon Lee and Ernie Hudson in that movie. Just make this movie great. Just the revenge story, and none of the kills, they're all different. And it's like a horror movie in reverse. It's this unkillable stalking killer chasing down people, but the people he's chasing down are bad guys, and he's actually the good guy. A reverse from like a Michael Myers, Jason or the Terminator, kind of thing like that. So it's like it kind of flips horror movie. It's a horror movie when it's good guys being chased by that zombie killer, but if it's bad guys being chased, it's a comic book action movie. Go figure. And also, kind of a side note, I've got it signed over there. I met James O'Barr, the creator of the original Crow comic book and everything like that. A super nice guy, for one. I think I mentioned this in another video. I can't remember, but I think I did. But he became good friends with Brandon Lee on the set, and he doesn't talk about Brandon that much. But I guess my buddy and I, just with our love of the comic The Crow, the movie and stuff like that, he actually had a conversation with us, talked about Brandon and everything like that, and he went to go sign someone else's thing real quick, and the handler, assistant, I don't know what you call the people at Comic-Cons who help out the creators and the celebrities, but they're like, oh man, he must really like you guys. He never talks about Brandon and so on and stuff like that. So just, it felt good, like talking to the creator about it and just getting some kind of inside scoops on the comic and on the movie and things like that. And James O'Barr, super nice guy, created The Crow, became a great movie. And of course, we've got the sequel coming out with Skarsgård. I'm not a big fan of it. My son wants to go see it, but he's a teenager and he doesn't know anything. So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe I'll go see it. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Like, I don't want it to be bad. It'd be great if it's good. But I don't think it could be better, but in my mind, it won't top this movie right here. This movie's a masterpiece, which is why it's my number 3 comic book movie of all time. Now, coming in, we have the prequel to The Dark Knight, and that's Batman Begins. That's the other Batman movie that's on this list. And it is on there over The Dark Knight because I just feel it's a better Batman movie. It's a great origin tale for Bruce Wayne. And then once he becomes a detective, we actually see him doing more detective work. And we see the fear, the symbol that Batman is. It does carry over into the sequel and everything like that. But I don't know. To me, this is just a better Batman movie. And if we're talking comic book heroes, your hero needs to be front and center. And maybe also this one holds a more special place in my heart than The Dark Knight, because up until this point we'd kind of had a lull of good superhero movies. Like, you know, we had Batman 89, Batman Returns, then the 2 Schumacher Batmans, which Forever's not terrible. Batman and Robin is, and then kind of nothing. Then we got X1, X2, Spider-Man 1 and 2, but then we also got like lesser quality ones, even ones that I still like Daredevil and Punisher, but then we got Elektra and Catwoman and Blade Trinity and just a Fantastic Four, just a host of terrible comic book movies. Superman Returns can be in there. That one's more boring than terrible. And so Batman Begins not only brought comic book movies back, maybe this and Iron Man, I think they came out right around the same time. I think Batman Begins was first. But it brought, not only did it bring comic book movies back, but it brought back Batman. It was just one of the most fantastic movies. I mean, you had Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow, Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon, Liam Neeson as Ducard / Ra's al Ghul, Ken Watanabe kind of posing as Ra's al Ghul, Michael Caine as Alfred, still my favorite Alfred. I mean, there's been some decent Alfreds since they're Jeremy Irons in the Snyder film, one of the better casting in the Snyder films. Andy Serkis in The Batman, which he might be dead. Did he live? I remember he got blown up. Can't remember. We'll find out if we ever get the Batman 2. And then I don't know the actor's name, the one from the Schumacher and Burton Batman movies. That Alfred, a great Alfred. But I think Michael Caine is the best. And I think with Michael Caine, you really see the fatherly love Alfred has for Bruce. And I think that dynamic, him and Christian Bale, is fantastic. And you definitely get a father-son aspect to the two. And I say too much this time taping. My apologies. I shouldn't be doing that. I've taken speech classes in college. I know better than that. And you just see this fatherly love. Damn it, there's home again. I should use scripts maybe. And Jim Gordon, dude, all right, that's all the M's. That's all the M's. But Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, Gary Oldman does not get enough credit for his Jim Gordon. That is easily the best Jim Gordon, hands down. There's not even like you can't even don't even debate me. Not a better Jim Gordon, and don't bring the animated movie or the animated show into that. That's completely different. That's all actor getting years to get into the role. Gary Oldman just boom hit it running. But I do love how Cillian Murphy though is in all three movies. He just keeps popping up, and he just does a great job as the Scarecrow. Like honestly, I didn't think the Scarecrow could work in live action, but he kills it. One of my favorite lines is when he's talking to Falcone about the drugs that they're supplying, and Falcone's like, "We need a little bit more for you," and he goes, "You do know?" He's like, "Oh, we're bringing in the drugs for you," and he's like, "You do know we're paying you, right?" And I just think that delivery by Cillian Murphy is just one of the best deliveries there. And then of course Alfred and Bruce testing out the cowls and the schemes they come up with to get everything through dummy corporations so you can't trace it back. I think Christopher Nolan with that movie really did think of ways that a real person trying to be Batman would hide their secret identity, and I think it's fantastic how he does it. It does take Batman and put him in the real world, and I'm glad when Warner Brothers wanted to use the Christian Bale, Chris Nolan Batman in the DCEU. I'm glad they said no. Mostly because, A, that Batman works great as his own character, but I've always felt Batman as a whole works better outside the DC universe. Same with the X-Men. I've always felt they work better on their own as a part of the larger Marvel universe. Those two, I've always just felt work so much better. Because if you think about, especially like the DC universe, with so many metahumans like Superman, Flash, stuff like that, there's no need for a Batman. Like Superman could solve Gotham's problems in a weekend. The Flash could probably do it in a week. Green Lantern probably in a weekend as well with his power ring. So it's kind of like when you have the Justice League, it's like with big things like Nightfall, what was the No Man's Land, some of these big events in Gotham. It's like, why didn't Bruce, I know he's a proud dude, but why is like, hey Soups, need your help. His oversized like wrestler dude with all kinds of steroids had let all the criminals out. I'm freaking tired. Get over here and help me, please. And Super's like, yeah, I got you. And he helps him round him up, and Superman just punch Bane through a wall. Boom. And I know that it's not great comic books. We want Batman. I mean, we had to set up a way that Batman gets crippled so we can get Asbat. Which, you see Bane, you see Asbat. That's Hush Nightwing. Hush Batman's behind him. Christopher Reeve Superman's up there too. And I have Nightfall Batman coming. I think that's coming next month. That'll be awesome. Do a toy review when that comes in too. But yeah, Batman Begins, my favorite Batman movie. My favorite of the Christopher Nolan trilogy. And like I said, it and Dark Knight can swap places. Like, if you say no, Dark Knight's better than Batman Begins, I'm not going to argue with you. They're both great films. And, you know, maybe Heath Ledger's Joker tips the scales for you. And it almost does for me too. But the reason why I like Batman Begins, because again, I think it's a better Batman movie. So that's why that goes. So drum roll, please. Number 1. And this one, it's a trilogy. Any one of the 3 movies could be put here. But I chose the first one of it because it really set the tone. I remember when this trailer came out, I had read the comic books before, so I knew what we were getting into. And plus, I was a James Gunn fan too. I'd seen Slither. What else did he do before that? Hero. He did a couple other things. So I knew what I was getting with James Gunn. I didn't know I was getting this much heart with James Gunn. But yeah, when the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer dropped and everyone was talking about it, I was like, yes, this is what I was hoping for when this was announced. And it not only didn't disappoint, but it over-delivered. I feel that trailer under-promised and that movie over-delivered. And then you continue with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. All 3 just banger after banger after banger. Just capture that heart and the feels. 2 could have been on this list because I remember 2 came out. I was in the middle of a divorce and that whole father-son bonding thing. I took my then 4-year-old son, Sean could have been 4 then, maybe 5, to see it. And that whole thing at the end with Yondu and they're playing Jim Croce at the end, father and son. I started crying in the theaters. And then a couple of years later, my dad passed away. And I was watching the Marvel movies and I stopped at Guardians. I was like, not ready yet. Nope. And it was about a year and a half ago I watched Guardians 2 again. Like I said, any of the Guardians movies could have been on this list. I'm not talking about Guardians 2 too much here. Watched Guardians 2. Man, did I cry my eyes out at the end of that movie. So, yeah, Guardians 1. Well, definitely Guardians 1 or Guardians 2 could have been here. I just picked Guardians 1 because that kind of kicked it off. It introduced everyone to James Gunn, basically. Those of you who don't watch deprived horror movies, trauma movies, and things like that. That was your first taste of James Gunn, which was a good taste of James Gunn. And so Guardians 1 or Guardians 2 could have been there, but I just feel Guardians 2, seeing the team come together and how they were all a bunch of loners, but they meet basically in prison and fun happens. Just, that movie is just fun. In fact, I might watch the Guardians trilogy tonight after I'm done recording this because it's just so much fun. I love it. I can't wait to see what James Gunn does with Superman. I know a lot of people are kind of pissed at him for firing Cavill, but they got to set a new tone. They got to do something new. They got to hit the reset button. So I don't really blame him. Though I would have loved to see Cavill as his Superman, but I'm definitely looking forward to his take on Superman because I think this is going to be the best take of Superman since the original Donner movie. That is back at number 13 on this list. I think we're really going to capture the heart and family and feelings of Clark and the Kents and the L family from Krypton and things like that. So James Gunn and his Guardians of the Galaxy with Chris Pratt, Zoe Deschanel. No, not Zoe Deschanel. Zoe Saldana. Got it. Dave Bautista as Drax, Vin Diesel as Groot, and Bradley Cooper as Rocket. But funny story about Vin Diesel as Groot. He didn't just record I am Groot like once or twice or a couple times to get different tones. Every time Groot says those lines, he's in the recording booth recording them towards the actors in the scene. So every time you hear I am Groot or anything like that, it's a new take, which is hilarious. And I believe he did all the international dubbing versions too. So I think maybe for the first time ever on every version of a film, it's the same actor doing a voice. So that's fantastic. Just the amount that like Vin Diesel gave to do Groot, I think you can't hate on a man for that. That's fantastic. But yeah, that's just that whole class. And Thomas C. Riley as one of the Nova Corps guards, he's hilarious in that. Just can't stress enough how much I love that movie and just the story it builds. So yeah, so that's our number one film. So just let me know what you think of this list and what's your top 10, top 15, top 20. I almost did a top 20, but I thought this is already going to be really long. I didn't want to do a top 20. But yeah, let me know in the comments below some of your favorite comic book movies. What's your favorite? Did I get this right? Did I get it wrong? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. And as always, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.